things, how do they ultimately build credibility? I think there will be a lot of nuances in that. Not all followers will be equal, not all users, even the same account, will be equal. And I think the more that a tool lets you really divide and slice and dice that way, the more interesting the analytical tool will be.
Yep. So I really liked CrowdReel as a consumer experience. I thought it was, I think it's very, very slick and very, looks great for such a new product. And like I said, when they were up here, I love the idea of being able to get different slices of your stream. Of, either that's pictures or that's pictures from an event or links from an event. I mean, another example of this would be, what were all the links that people were sharing as a result of, that were tagged with hashtag Chirp? What was sort of the most popular things that were being passed around as a result of the conversation that we were having here over the last 2 days. Anyone have any advice for that company?
Maybe focus on news. Like when there's some sort of disaster, I don't know if people still do this, but I used to go to CNN.com. Apparently only half as many people go to CNN.com as did a year ago. But you go there and you see what's going on, right? And I could see CrowdReel becoming a place where people go to automatically when something happens and they want to see what's going on, right? There it is, there's all the pictures.
Yep.
I agree with Paul that I think there needs to be some kind of hook. In other words, will I just go to a site to see what pictures are popular on Twitter? For me, it would need to either have two things. A, there would have to be more community, right? So okay, I'm somehow interacting with other people on the site and that's what's keeping me there. Or there needs to be some way for me to put data into the site. And obviously that could be posting a picture on Twitter, but that's not really putting data. So if you're not contributing to it and there's no community, then yeah, I mean, it could, the next kind of site would be like a Google News or a site you just go to read.
Now, an interesting thing about their model that they mentioned at the end is that their business plan is to white label for people the access to that site, and that's always been a business that I've been sort of wary of. I don't know, I'm not seen a really successful one, and I don't really know what the example is for that in the consumer space.
It's so easy as a startup to get sucked into the white label thing.
Right.
You guys know, every company that starts, the first question you get is somebody being like, well, I don't know who the fuck you are. Nobody knows about your brand, but your product's really cool, so why don't you just slap our brand on it? And it's so tempting to do that.
Right.
Offer search to Netscape or
Yahoo. Well, yeah, you could do that. Touche.
Well, there's a difference between the joke was you could offer search to Netscape,
which is what Google did.
Which is, Google had a very good business out of offering search. But there's a difference between offering a technology like search and a more of a consumer web, consumer media experience. At least that would be my perspective. I don't know what you think.
I think CrowdReel and Twiddly were my two favorites of the demos we saw today, and I think that they both actually have really good consumer appeal. So I'm not so sure about the white labeling, at least in the first bit, but I think that they're both focusing on organizing information, organizing your stream or the stream overall in a really interesting way and giving you a neat view onto it, and I think that that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to say something about the Twitter later demo, because that idea behind mining lists for great accounts was definitely in the forefront of our mind behind doing lists, and it's just something we haven't even gotten to. So I love seeing that being done in the ecosystem, because I think that's the sort of discovery mechanism we can do. I wonder what other signal, how would you think about that? How would you think about that from a search perspective? You've got this signal of, what accounts appear on lists. What else would you use to make that product better from a search and relevancy standpoint, besides just, how often you appear on a list?
I think there's something I think the list is a really interesting signal. I also think that you can probably look at reply patterns.
Yep.
So the same way we looked at link structures on the web for web page relevance, I think when you look at who tends to chat back and forth with whom, what types of words and special keywords and terms do they seem to use the most, then you'll ultimately get a pretty good sign of relevance, either because of what people themselves tweet on or who they interact with, what those people tweet on.
Yep, I agree. I think that's a good sign. I think there's also things we can do from the Twitter side to help API partners know more about the reputation score behind a person, to know more about how good we think the person is, and that's something I think you'll see more and you'll hear more about us doing in terms of allowing people to make better products based on relevant accounts.
There have been a lot of stabs at creating reputation for people. So we have reputation for restaurants and stuff on Yelp.
Right.
You don't want to get into the negativity of but you do want to know how influential somebody is, and I think there's the potential for somebody to crack that nut and really become the standard.
Yeah.
Why don't you add up tweets?
Add upvotes?
Yeah.
How would it work?
Like Reddit, you put a big arrow next to it.
So there's products. Do we have any development to build products around you, upvoting tweets, like giving positive feedback on tweets?
No, I mean, you should have canonicalized upvotes. It's part of the Twitter protocol.
Well, so we do have, so that's why I think that's an interesting idea. We have favorites, which is a sort of impoverished system on Twitter. We have this starring system, because you have to have stars. That's thanks to Google, you have to have stars on content. And we really haven't developed anything around that in a long time. We haven't really taken that to the next logical phase of allowing people to see what of their stuff has been favorited, how has more favorited content worked. But we are starting to pay attention to it now because of things like resonance. So when we talked about ad resonance yesterday, favorites is one of the things that we can look at to see if people actually like this. And I think outside of the ad space, there's a lot more that we can do into making that a full-fledged feature on the site.
You wouldn't even have to create a new object. Actually, you could just represent an upvote as a tweet.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Just
have a convention for that. In fact, you could just invent it right now.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, that's our panel for